So today we will start with our project planning area of the system. Project planning is an additional module in the Deltek Vision suite of tools, and it really is available for project managers in order to enter their budgets, and then because of the integrated system, be able to go back and compare that to the actuals that are being put in through the timesheet. Today we'll talk about some of the different configurations that are available within the project planning system. It is very, very configurable, allowing a lot of our clients to do whatever they're really trying to achieve at the end of the job, and by using the system in order to assist and do that. So we'll start on the general tab. We'll talk about some of the other tabs that are here, and then we'll end today with talking about some of the differences between project planning and resource management and the Vision Navigator, a free tool that can be used on top of Vision Project Planning as a reporting tool, or can be used in lieu of project planning as a kind of a subset of the features in order to very quickly put in what it would take to get the job done, compare that to the actuals. So here we are, and we are on our project planning general tab. A couple of the key areas here, we do tie it back to our project as well as the opportunities. We could be planning this out in any stage where we're still have the opportunity open. We haven't been awarded a contract, but we want to enter in some data to see what it would take to get this job done. Vision project planning is a great way in order to get that information into the system, being able to really come up with a compensation number that's competitive, but at the same time profitable. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the system. Other key fields here, probability. Also for the business development perspective, we could be able to report on this from a utilization perspective or on a forecasting perspective. Be able to look at the probability and work that into our query in order to identify when we're expecting this work to come in or in order to have this individual utilized by this job. We can see that we have ties back to our principals, project managers, supervisors. This allows us to the ISME reporting. We have our target multipliers here as well, used for reporting purposes or for calculations within the system. Tie this to organizations for reporting. We have several different percent complete formulas that we can utilize on a number of the reports that are within the system. As I go down, I have my planned revenue here. If I'd like to use the as a revenue forecasting tool, these fields here can assist me in getting that information in the system and available for reporting. I also have include and utilization in project reports. So if project managers are not happy with the report or they want to have several different versions of a project plan, what-if scenarios, they can have that within the system but hide it from everyone and not have it included in the utilization or project reports. So they keep those cards close to their vests. They can go back and use those at any time. Some of the standard features here, unposted actual labor, just as we have in the reports, we can have the asterisks next to the numbers, letting us know that these are not a part of the not a completed process part of the system yet, but something that we can expect is coming. Same with the committed PO expenses. That works hand in hand with our purchasing module. As I go down below, created by, last modified. So great reporting items here so we can be able to stay on top of who is the last one to use this tool. One of the first integration points that we have here is our budget type. And we can see here if we want to use cost and billing as a part of our system. Many of the clients that I work with, they'll have this automatically filled in for their project managers based on the rights or based on the processes that they have within the system. Project managers usually, and I'll say in some cases, they don't have to worry about these fields because they're automatically filled out. Project manager uses a template or uses the defaults, and all this information is automatically filled in for them. As I move on here, I can see my generic method where I want to use labor categories. So I want to be able to have individuals such as an engineer or generic resources in that way. Or if we're using labor codes or activity codes, as some clients call them, we have the ability to put our budgets in that way as well. As we scroll down, our labor cost rates, we have the ability to use rate tables within the system, integrating back to our accounting system. One system, we have those rate tables, we can use them in many different areas, as well as our expenses, any of our billing, any of our, all of those tables are within the system, and we can reference those for our project planning. We also have the scheduling, excuse me, the scheduling item here. And excuse me just for a moment. Oh, much better. Sorry about that. We have our scheduling here, and this allows us to, in order to have some task dependencies within the system. As you can see, we have the ability to identify different tasks here and start to finish relationships. We could have lead lag times. We could have before and after here in order to assist us in putting task dependencies into the system to make sure that we're getting the information into the system And as we move, as if anything gets shifted, everything that needs to get shifted below it automatically happens for us. Great new feature that happened within the last version or so of 7.3, 7.4, and we have the ability to use this going forward to really assist us in any of those dependencies. As I move through here, next item I have is my labor tab, and this is really the meat and potatoes of the project planning module. This is where we can start to see what it would take to get the job done. And as you can see, I have my work breakdown structure here in place. I have my project numbers here tied to my different levels of my work breakdown structure. So if I scroll down to here and see Stacy Anderson, we planned for her to put 32 hours into this time frame here. And that time frame could be whatever you'd like it to be. Talk more about that in a moment. I can see that we planned for 32, but when Stacy Anderson charged her timesheet with this project number, as well as the project phase task, the actual charge was 40 hours. So there's a difference of 8. We have a number of reports that could jump out at us and let us know that happened. And we can give Stacy a call. What's going on here? Or is it taking longer than you thought? Did you get more work done? We see you didn't charge 12 hours in the next time frame. Were you able to do this job all in one time frame without doing without using 4 hours of your budget? And we really have the ability here to look at that information, be able to identify any risks that we have with this project. So really a great way of being able to compare the planned numbers to the actuals right out of the system here with one screen, and the actuals absolutely coming from the timesheets that are being entered. We'll make a quick jump over to the timesheets in just a few moments as well to see some of the additional features that the project planning does add to that module. So some of the other fields that we're seeing here across the top, I could actually show some more fields here, and it all depends upon what you're looking to get out of the system. As you can see, we can have that total planned hours. We can have job to date, of course, coming from our accounting system, what we charged this job so far. ETC, estimate to complete. That's all we can look at that from an hours cost or a bill. And that's everything that we have left to do from today until the end of the job. We also have our estimate at complete, our EAC here, and we could add our JTD plus our ETC will equal our EAC. So a great way of being able to see if we compare our EAC, what we have left to do, to our plan numbers, we can see if we're on budget or if we're over budget, under budget, or exactly where we stand on this job. So a couple of other fields that are here, as you can see, we have percent completes, we have bills, we have estimate, we have costs, we have some of our compensation fields as well, all available for us to be added to this system. We'll talk a little bit more about some of those other fields, but just want you to know it's very configurable based on what we'd like to see. And as an administrator, I'm seeing everything, but we could lock this down a bit to hide some of what your organization might consider clutter. We can make sure that it's configured to support the processes that you want to put in place in order to achieve your end goals. Some of the other areas that we see over here as I move to more of the right-hand side, I'm looking at this information from a Gantt and a planned hours. But once again, we may want to look at this from a baseline, what we thought this was going to be on day one, perhaps before your contract was awarded, and we were putting this in for budgeting purposes. Hours, cost, or bill, depending upon what your organization would like. If you'd like to hide cost rates, very easy to do within the configuration, so this does not become an option. We can see our planned and baseline, exactly the same on day one, but the moment we hit a bump in the road or it rains or something happens, the planned and the baseline change. Project managers are actively working with the planned hours to make those changes. You can see here down below, actual hours coming or cost or bill coming over from our accounting system. We can then see our revenue and forecast that once again, time period by time period. We can see some of our earned value percentages or our compensations here as well, all included within the system. Other areas that we have, here we can see we have the time frames that we're looking at here. If I'd like to make any changes to those time frames, very easy to do. So here I'm in my calendar view, and I'm seeing that when I go from 2/24, 2015 to 2/24/16, I'm looking at month over quarter. But as I go further into the future, I'm going year over year. And as you can see here, I can go as small as the day. I could go as big as the year. What we typically find is our clients are lining this up with their timesheets in the present, and they're looking at the bigger buckets far in the past or far in the future in order to make it a little bit easier for them to use the system. Some of the other features that we have here within the system in order to assist us with getting this information in, I'm going to do a quick insert here to show how easy it is to add another resource to this job. Something else that I can do is I can add a civil engineer. I'm not sure who I'm going to use, but I'm going to have a generic civil engineer. I'm going to say between this start date and this completion date, I'm going to need 100 hours of civil engineer. It'll automatically spread it in that time frame for me based on the number of working days in that time frame. I also have the ability here to use some of my tools to either copy 20 hours every bucket or spread proportionally, spread evenly. So I have a lot of features here that can assist me in getting this in the system. Once I have that generic civil engineer within the system, it's just a placeholder. I don't need that amount in order. I don't need to name who that individual is, because this could be, once again, very early in the process. I don't have anyone in mind yet, or in some of the situations that I've seen, project managers do not have the ability to assign work to individuals. This could be a resource manager or someone who's not necessarily responsible for the profitability of the project, but instead the utilization of the staff. Here, we can jump to another window in order to see this and be able to help us with making the right assignments to the job. So I'm doing a quick search here against the job saying, in this time frame, from a biweekly perspective, show me everyone who could fill my civil engineer duties at my organization. As I scroll down a bit, you can see I have some different selections I can choose here. So perhaps I can use some fields that exist at the Employee Info Center. Maybe I need certain licenses or registrations for certain states, or speak Spanish, or any field that you have available that within the system, whether it's one that's system or one that you created. We can use that in order to find the right individuals for the job. As you can see here within the system, I have Alexander Dane working on this job, and here are the different jobs that he's working on. Right now he's in the green. He's properly utilized. According to his individual utilization goal, he doesn't need any more work in these time periods because he's doing just fine. As he gets further into the future, we can see that he drops off a bit here. We need to find some more work for Alexander because he's in the blue. He needs some more work. We can also see further into the future, he's in the red. He's overutilized. So we need to free some of these hours up from him so he can so he can remain a little bit sane here on the job. So a great way of being able to very quickly identify who needs more work, who needs some work moved away from them. And once again, it's all dependent upon the individual utilization goal. To make sure that we have the ability here to be able to work this against the employee. So if they have some administrative duties or they work part-time, this works very easily to color coordinate and be able to deliver the right information very quickly to whoever is reviewing this report. We can also see here that we have this generic civil engineer up here at the top. And what we can do is we can move these hours away from the generic civil engineer to any employee who needs the hours. So what we're going to do very quickly is Alexander Dane, he's properly utilized here, but to show how easy it is to make these changes and to show how the changes do reflect, I'm going to move 100% of those hours to Alexander Dane, and this should, just barely. He's still in the green, but you can see his utilization went up to 107. I believe in this scenario that we have here, if we're 10% over, that's when we will have that color change, or 10% under for that. So when I click Save, this has the ability to send that email off to Alexander. Congratulations, you're on the job. It can send something to the project manager, letting them know that they are now responsible for Alexander Dane's utilization in that time frame. It also updates the plans across the board to let us know that so when Alexander Dane does charge his actuals against this job on his timesheet, you can see that right next to those plan numbers. To extend this out a bit further, we also have the ability to look at this report on this from a macro scale. So here are some reports here, and I do apologize, in these time frames, it looks like we have very little work going on. So this tells a very interesting story here. What this tells me is that a lot of people are sitting on the bench. We have enough work to keep 28 people. We have enough work to keep 28 people busy, but we have 124 on staff. So big problem there. 96 people are wondering what to do. But when May 1st hits, that's when we jump right up. We have 127 people here. Enough work to keep 127 people busy, and we have 124 on staff. So we're working 3 employees worth of overtime. I can see that goes up to 15 once we get into this 6/1 time frame. The idea here is we're forecasting into the future. So we have the ability to put this in and be able to have multiple versions of this report. As you can see, we have this little green bar here, and what that represents is the very likely projects to come in. That's referencing that probability field that we showed a bit earlier. With the blues, these are active projects, contracts in hand. These are going to happen. So we can have multiple scenarios here where we can see, show us everything that we're going to win everything. that's out there, or everything we're very likely to win, or the sky's falling, only things that we have contracts in hands for. Or perhaps even taking this a step further and being able to say, only show this for my junior civil engineers to make sure that I not only have the right head count, but I have the right mix in order to get these jobs done as effectively as possible. This utilization, this goes directly to the bottom line profit. So very nice report, very nice way to be able to manage the business and really get rid of those gut feels. So you hire just in time, just as you need those individuals at your organization. I'm going to do a quick pause here and see if we have any questions. No questions yet, so hopefully everyone is getting something out of it, or perhaps I'm being very thorough here, so that's even better. So no questions just yet. We'll keep going, and I'll check back in just a few moments. So we're going to go back to our actual project planning here. Talk a little bit more about what we're seeing on the screen. We are on our labor tab. We found the right individuals. We moved some individuals over here that are now a part of this project plan. We can do the same with our expenses. And once again, we're using the accounting system here to be able to compare our plan numbers to our actuals. We're using the account number as well. Red is reimbursable, so I can see we had some reimbursable expenses here that we planned for. We planned for $7,000 and change. We were billed our plan cost was $7,000. Our plan bill was $8,000, and we can see that we had a zero planned actuals flow through. So we had no these didn't hit the books yet, and this is something for us to be able to look at and for the project managers to be able to recognize as that's happening. Consultants behave the same exact way here, using some of our being able to use some of the GL counts here in order to be able to identify when we're expecting this bill to hit. And you can see here our planned cost, our planned actuals, and we can be able to see the actual costs here that are charged against this job as well. A few other fields that we have, summary. This is a nice quick on-screen reporting where we have the ability to get this information and be able to review this information. All this can be very easily pulled down to Excel or printed directly from this screen if we want to do some additional analysis on it. A couple other quick fields that we'd like to show here. These are more along the lines of getting back to where we have our system, and we're using this as a way in order to come up with a compensation number. I'm going to look at this from a cost perspective or from a billing perspective. Here, from my cost, I can see here from I can apply some overheads or some contingencies. I have some contract and fee amount here that could flow through the system. If it's cost, it's going to be user entered. We'll look at this in a few moments from a billing perspective, and we'll be able to pull this information from the project info center. I can see the plan numbers. All these are added up based on what we have at the labor area. So if I would like to lower this amount of direct labor, I can trim a few hours from my labor tab, be able to take those hours back, and it would reflect throughout the entire system. Actuals, of course, coming from the actual accounting system, we'll be able to see this information flow through again and be able to have this, be able to use this to, once again, come up with a number that is competitive, but at the same time profitable for us at the organization. We could look at this from the billing perspective as well. Once again, that contract fee being pulled from our project info center, plan numbers being pulled from our labor tab, being able to calculate the variance, and be able to see the actuals being pulled from our fully integrated accounting system. So very, very powerful tools. Is a great way for project managers to really stay on point and be able to compare the contract fee, what you've signed up for, to what's in the plan, to what's actually hitting the job. A few more areas I would like to hit here. I'm going to jump to my timesheet, be able to put that into this, talk about how project planning interacts with the timesheet. Here as I jump in, I could see that I am William Barry here today within my system. And as I'm putting my system in, I could copy from my project planning module. It automatically put in any project here, and I can see that that Marble Public Library, I know that is the job that was just added to the system. I can also show here from my planned hours. So I could see that was my Marblehead Public Library. Here's the planned hours that have been given. Here's how many have been charged. And a great way of being able to have that on the timesheet, be able to see that information flow through the system. So it does assist quite a bit with putting the timesheets in. Employees are still applying the hours to those timesheets, but the project plan, but the timesheets know exactly what the employee is supposed to be working on in that time period. Going to shift gears in a moment just to see if we have anything from our to shift gears to more of the Project Navigator features and functionality that we have here. I see, again, no questions. I'll pause for just a moment here to see if anyone would like to put in a question on anything that we've shown so far. and before we jump into the next module. Very good. Time to jump into the Project Navigator. So Navigator is a solution that is included with the system. It can be used in coordination with the project planning tool, or it can be used on its own. It's usually a replacement for the project budget worksheet if you're historically have used the system for quite a while, would like to use these numbers to compare your plan numbers to your actuals, or as a reporting tool to be able to review what you put in when the accounting in the project planning system. So it also has a nice feature here which really treats each individual project almost as if it's its own dashboard. I can see here the labor plan summary, and what we see here is that we pulled the contract amount here from the actual project, and as you can see, we have a nice high contract number. But as far as what we put in the planning system, we have our job to date, that black sliver down at the bottom. If I hover over, I get the exact dollar amount, and the blue, what we have left to do. So I would expect this blue to be right up to the contract number. So we're working right up into the contract. Or hopefully this is a fee-based job and we're doing a little bit of work for a lot of money. As we can see here, we move over to our labor plan timeline. We can see our actuals here in black versus our contract versus our plan numbers. And as you can see, we have all the information here right at our fingertips. We can see what's flowing through the system. My aged accounts receivable, as I hover over, I can see exactly what dollar amount. And you can see I have a little bit of age receivables out that 90 days or 120 days. Those are always harder to collect, so this looks a little bit unhealthy. Luckily, it's not too much money that we're talking about here. I could also see some dollars out in the unbilled, just a small amount here, but this is another way of being able to see that information, really be able to see the health of the project based on what we have for our AR or our unbilled. Moving across here, we're moving to our planned numbers. And planned, once again, this is something that we can enter into the system if we're using Navigator as our primary planning tool, or we can use the project planning and use this more as a reporting tool. Contract tab, this comes from contracts in the project info center. The labor tab here, this is once again where we have the ability to see the information, be able to set up what it would take to get this job done. I can see that I have some named individuals here, and I have some generics here as well. Very easy to add new individuals to this project here. I can see from my long list, I can do a quick search to find the right individual with the right skill set, or the generic or generic resource here in order to find what we'd like to find. I need a manager on this job. Very easy to add that. I can then start applying my different hours here by switching over to my detailed view. Here are here are the different buckets here, and I have the ability to say that I need that senior resource in June for 10 hours, be able to have that reflected through, move back to this screen, I can see those 10 hours reflected accordingly. Across the top, once again, my start date, end date, contract, baseline, job to date, what I have left to do in my estimate to complete, my estimate at complete here, and my contract less AAC. Contract is so important to have here because that's what you agreed to do, and you can always compare what you agreed to do as far as how you're doing or what you're planning to do. We can also see this once again for our expenses and for consultants. A few more items, and we can see this from a billing or from a cost perspective. A few more features here that we can see with the Navigator system. We can see invoices here. So if this is our project manager portal and the reporting into some of the way that we're using the system, we can see any of the outstanding invoices or any of the invoices at all that we have available here. And we can use this here to be able to see any of the details. We can view that invoice here as well. So great way to be able to see that information here from a Navigator perspective. We also have the ability here to change the view. So instead of looking at this from a project manager toolkit, we could also look at it from an employee's perspective. So what are employees using the system for? They're using it as their timesheet. Here we can use this, once again, timesheet, just as we use it in Vision, but we can use this in any browser or any iPad, tablet that we choose to. So great way to very quickly get the information into the system without having to log into the full Vision system or without having to be on that .NET platform. You can also see from an expense reports perspective. Also a part of the system where we can start putting our expense report in, having that information flow through, even the new features here where we have the ability to apply our scan in any of our documents, be able to see that within the expense report, absolutely have the ability to do that, have that information flow through. So Navigator, once again, kind of a portal, if you will, for project managers, for employees who are not logging into the Vision system. They can log into it on a tablet or in a Mac or any browser that's out there in order to be able to get some of the key components of the jobs that they're done. Still have the fully featured .NET version with our project planning in order to do everything that we'd like to do within the system, or to be a little bit more use the project planning module as a more robust tool set than what we see within the Navigator system. Navigator can offer itself as a reporting tool to know exactly where we stand. We have many different reporting features and functionalities based around project planning as well. We just showed a subset of them, but based on your needs and based on what you'd like to get out of the system, we'd be able to direct you to the right report in order to review the project planning module, or be able to compare plan to actuals in different formats in order to be able to meet your needs of your organization and be able to meet those end goals. So I was aiming for about a half hour. I'm pretty happy with myself here with 29 minutes in. So we do see that I do have a question or two, and we'll be able to speak to those. So one of the first question we have is, can you add the timesheets? Can you add units to the timesheets via Navigator? Unfortunately, not yet. That is something that they are looking at adding into the system, but units are not available within the Navigator timesheet yet, and unfortunately, that is not something that we can do within Navigator. They are always building upon Navigator. It's been available for about a year and a half now. Perhaps even a little bit longer, but every time we see it, and every time they have a new release, they're building more and more functionality into it. And it's very impressive how much they've been able to incorporate into that system. So no units yet, but I would say that is something that is definitely on the roadmap. We haven't. Something else to note here. We are giving quite a bit here. I was asked if it was being recorded. Yes, this is being recorded. We did have a client who could not make it today. We will have this available, and I believe everyone got the invite from John for this meeting. If you do ask for John, John will be able to get you, hopefully get this recording if it's something that you desire. And we're going to get this over to John after today's session, and he'll be able to coordinate the distribution. Another question that we have here. Do you have the resource planning module in order to plan resources in Navigator? Unfortunately, yes, that is more of that robust tool set that's project planning. So project planning and resource management are its own module, whereas Navigator is something that is available with the core solution. And part of that premium that you do have to pay, that is the resource management that is a part of that solution. So yes, that resource management does come with project planning, and that is something additional. Let's see here, another question that we have. Oh, hi, Ken. Can a project manager add an employee and have a supervisor approve the use of the employee? No, there is not that tiered approach, Ken, not yet, but I have heard that quite a bit. Well, the way I usually see that used within the system is that we have the project manager make the request for the generic resource, and I'll just jump to that screen for a moment. What usually happens is that we see the ability here to, they'll make the request. Here we'll see the request, in this case, for that civil engineer for the different projects. And what I've seen, my experience, is that you have the resource managers, the people responsible for or the department heads, whatever you'd like to call them, traffic managers even. They're sitting on one side of the table. You have the project manager sitting on the other side of the table, and they have this up on the screen, or they're sharing this via the web in a presentation type of a view. Comments are being made, requests are being made, conversations are being had, and I need Alexander on the Benson Research Lab. Alexander's already busy. Will you take Laura? I'll trade you for Laura for Alexander. And those conversations are being had. Changes are being made right on the fly. And when you click save, everything's being updated across the entire solution. So we typically do not see there's no such thing as typical, because everyone's using this a little bit differently. But if you do have the concept of resource managers or department managers assigning the work, we usually see, in this case, civil engineer, or probably even a little bit more finer use of that term of we need a a junior civil or a civil engineer or a senior civil in order to find the right individual for the job. And then those changes are being made by whoever has the security to assign the work or to assign the utilization, if you will, of those particular jobs. So great question, but it's not necessarily a tiered approach. We've seen it more in process be tiered, where project managers making that request, resource managers actually formally making that, taking action and executing that assignment of work. Let's see here. Another question that we had. Resource Manager only available on-prem or is also available in the cloud? Everything that we showed today is available in the cloud. So absolutely, you can have those modules available in the cloud. Resource Managers, Project Planning available in the cloud, or Navigator available if you just have the accounting core. So yes, everything that we've shown today is available in the cloud. I believe that is all the questions that we have right now. I definitely speak as if I'm from New England and way too fast, so I do apologize for that. But any other questions that we have, I'm more than happy to stay on the line for a few more minutes, but that is all the questions that we've had so far. I'll hang on for another 5 minutes or so. If there are any questions, be happy to answer them. If not, happy to give you some time back in your day. And thank you very much for attending. If you do have any questions or comments, we have the ability to, please reach out to John or your account manager. They'd be happy to assist you and be able to make sure that you have everything you need in order to either take the next step in a demonstration that's more geared towards your organization, or just to learn a little bit more about the module. Thank you very much and have a great day. Oh, one more question here. Providing slides. I didn't use any slides here today within the system. Everything I did was live within the demonstration. This recording can be available if you contact John. He did send the invitation to this session, and he'd be able to coordinate that with you. Or if you'd like something more specific to your organization, please reach out to John or your account manager, and they'll be able to set up a proper meeting where we can learn a little bit more about you. We can configure the demonstration of the software based about your needs and what you'd like for your processes, your output, and be able to make it a little bit more specific to your organization. And another question, I'm blissfully ignorant on cost. Please reach out to your account manager or your partner, and they'll be able to assist you with and letting you know how much this would be at your site. Thank you very much again. I'll be on the line for a few more moments, and we can go from there.